What would happen if Canada passed a tax law that eliminated capital gains or actually deferred capital gains as long as proceeds of that investment was reinvested in the Canadian economy? Well, after 104 years of this happening exactly in the US as a 1031 exchange, a Canadian politician who's trying to run for office this next month has decided to announce that here in Canada as well. Now, I won't say who that person is. You can go figure that out on your own if you're really interested. But this is basically what would happen if that law went through. So first of all, this would affect every single person in Canada for the actual greater good. Now, if you are a real estate investor or somebody who is investing capital in the Canadian economy, you're creating jobs and you're creating, say, properties for rent, you would now have access to sell your properties, not pay capital gains, or actually defer those gains to a later date as long as you reinvest those proceeds back in the economy and create more rental units. Now, how does that affect you if you are not an investor or not somebody who is creating jobs and creating rental units? Well, now you have more options because right now, many landlords that I know about are not selling their rental properties because they don't want to be hit with a massive tax gain. Now, if they were allowed to defer that gain to a later date, they would be selling those properties and then, say, buying 3 more or 4 more for every property they sold, which would be a net benefit because if you have more options, supply and demand, you either have stabilized prices or prices might go down. If you're an Edmontonian who's renting, you know your rental prices have gone up 50% in the last 2 years. And so this will help minimize that from happening again in the next 2 years. Don't forget, this is nothing new. The US has had this for over 100 years. It came in 1921, and all this does is defers the gain on the actual tax liability to a later date. It will be paid at some point. And the benefit is the Canadian government actually collects more taxes because there's more transactions in the economy, which means that there's more income made by Canadians, which means there's more taxes on income tax. And then at the end of the day, they still collect their taxes plus some. So they'll still make more money doing this anyways.